Bro, I'm telling you, bro, you're not gonna find anyone in the wrestling business as divisive as Vince Russo, bro. Some people love him, yet many more seem to hate him, and the list of people who have heat with Russo is about a mile long. I'm Sam Driver from Cultaholic Wrestling, and we don't quite have time for a mile, but we here at Cultaholic can spare enough for 10 wrestlers or wrestling personalities who had heat with Vince Russo. Join us!
But before we start, if you were to build the perfect wrestler from the ground up, you'd want a strong frame, a good look, a solid base of technical knowledge, and someone who's easy to work with. Oh, and they also need to be safe. Very, very safe. All the gimmicks and gear in the world aren't going to protect you from unexpected situations in the ring, not even these massive spiky shoulder thingies, so safety is very much paramount. I suppose it's a bit like using the internet, really. You can log on with all the best intentions in the world, but out there lurking in the corners are all sorts of dastardly heels that want to steal your passwords, data, and accounts. Do you really think you can square up to that on your own? Why not give yourself the tag partner you need to watch your back? Why not use NordVPN? NordVPN is lightning fast, highly secure, and easy to use, helping keep your passwords, banking data, and digital privacy safe, intact, and far away from those grubby hands trying to make a quick buck off your misfortunes. Not only that, but Nord also protects your location, allowing you to move your connection freely from country to country, which also handily gives you the ability to access streaming services, subscriptions, and content that might be exclusive to other regions. Content that might be broken up into several expensive subscription packages in your country might be available for one low price overseas. Did somebody say cheaper PLEs? Well, even Stephanie said to do it on her podcast. Why should you be the one left holding the bag? Cultaholic truly believes Nord to be the best VPN out there, and if you try it and don't agree, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. To get the best price on your NordVPN plan, head to nordvpn.com/cultaholic. Not only will you get a hefty discount, but you also get 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. The link's in the description below. Thanks for all your time, and a massive thanks to Nord for sponsoring today's video.
Number 10, Leilani Kai. Former WWE Women's Champion Leilani Kai wrestled a handful of WCW matches during the 90s, the last of which was a loss to Medusa on the July 26, 1999 edition of Nitro, which she wrestled under the name Patty Stone Grinder. Kai thought she had one more match booked against Brandy Alexander when she flew into Denver, Colorado for the November 29th Nitro. However, when she got there, Leilani claims the script was flipped on her by none other than Vince Russo. Kai has said in various interviews that she showed up at the arena with the intention of wrestling a straight match with Alexander, only to be informed that she was in fact going to be wrestling Rhonda Singh in a mud match instead. Incensed at the supposed double cross, Leilani has claimed that she cussed Russo out backstage. On the show itself, Kai choked on some buffet food backstage and was taken out of the match, which led to a scene where Singh, Roddy Piper, the Harris twins, Miss Elizabeth, and Lex Luger all took a bath in the brown stuff. Russo has of course disputed Kai's version of events, saying that she was always being brought in for that one specific spot, bro, but her hatred for the writer persists to this day. Number 9, The Undertaker. If there was one member of the WWE locker room that you didn't want to piss off, it was probably The Undertaker. Luckily for Vince Russo, he didn't even know he had beef with the dead man until after he'd left WWE for WCW. It was while he was at WCW that Terry Taylor, who'd also jumped ship from WWE, told Vinnie Roo that Taker had held a grudge against him. The reason? Russo constantly asking the Phenom to work through injuries. While it's no secret that Taker was struggling during this era as his body broke down, Russo was shocked by the revelation, saying that he never knew that he was hurt and wouldn't have asked anyone to work a match if they were. This heat was certainly a one-way street, as Russo had nothing but respect for Mark Calloway. Michael Hayes, meanwhile, once claimed that Russo suggested Taker retire during his fleeting return to the WWE creative team in mid-2002, a claim that Russo has shot down by saying the pitch was for an angle, not for him to actually retire. Number 8, Roddy Piper. Like many of the old school guys who came up through the territory system, Roddy Piper wasn't exactly enamored with the direction the industry had taken during the Monday Night Wars, and accused Russo, as the head writer of WWE, of prostituting the business. So when Russo came over to WCW, there was instant heat with the hot rod, not helped when Russo and his writing partner Ed Ferrara presented Piper with a scripted, profanity-laced promo for him to recite on television. Roddy wasn't in WCW for very long thereafter, but he still bore a grudge against Russo, not just for the car crash nature of professional wrestling, but for something more personal. It all came to a head when Piper made an appearance on NWA TNA's December 4th, 2002 weekly pay-per-view. The Rowdy Scott was ostensibly there as an unannounced surprise to promote his new autobiography, but used his promo time to blast Russo for, among other things, the tragic death of Owen Hart. Russo, who was in the building, took exception to Roddy's rant and hit the ring, leading to a tense exchange where Piper shoot-slapped Russo in the side of the head before the Harris twins came out to defuse the situation. Number 7. Dustin Rhodes. The professional wrestling career of Dustin Rhodes changed completely when he left WCW and joined WWE, where he was tasked with portraying the character of Goldust. And in those early Goldust days, it was Vince Russo writing much of the material for the Bizarre One, particularly the promos where he would talk about Hollywood and movie stars and such. Goldust got over big and was a huge success, all things considered, but Rhodes left WWE in '99 and resurfaced in WCW. It was Eric Bischoff who signed him to a deal, but Bischoff was out and Russo was in, as Rhodes was getting ready to debut an altogether new character called Seven, which Dustin himself had come up with. Speaking about the situation during a Q&A live event with Inside the Ropes, Dustin said that he did not like Russo at all at the time, going as far as to say he hated him. When the controversial Seven character was axed due to pressure from Turner Broadcasting's Standards and Practices Department, Rhodes felt like it was Russo trying to mess with him for whatever reason. In his autobiography, Rhodes criticized Russo further for his booking afterwards, particularly the frequent jobs he did for Russo favorite and close friend Jeff Jarrett. Number 6. Eric Bischoff. In the old man with a podcast era, few have managed to ruffle as many feathers as Eric Bischoff, who's rather unrestrained in his approach to slagging people off within the industry, with Russo as one of his frequent targets. After being relieved of his duties as WCW's SVP in '99, Bischoff was later brought back to work alongside Russo in a creative capacity, and as an on-screen character. Bischoff initially liked Russo and felt they could work together, but as the weeks and months went on, he grew wary of him. In recent years, Bischoff has been unfiltered in his criticism of Russo, who he also worked with later in TNA, and both blamed each other for that company's various failures. Both men having an outlet to sling mud has led to much petty back and forth squabbling, which is really becoming of two blokes who are now eligible for a free bus pass. Then again, maybe I'm just being a big old mark by getting worked and there's a swerve I didn't see coming. I mean, probably not, but I think we can all agree that both men are responsible for some of the absolute worst things that have ever made it to a mainstream wrestling program and should be ashamed of themselves. If only they could feel shame. Number 5. Samoa Joe. Bischoff can rag on Russo all he wants, but let's not all act like Eazy-E didn't have some really dumb ideas, including during his run in TNA. One of them was the angle that saw Samoa Joe kidnapped by a van full of ninjas. According to Russo, Bischoff's grand idea was for Joe to be gone for a while, and it would later be revealed that Jimmy Superfly Snuka was the person behind the kidnap plot. And I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a variety of reasons, but this is TNA and making sense has never been of primary importance now, has it? Even though the angle was Bischoff's idea, Joe later roasted Russo for bringing him back without any explanation for the kidnapping angle. Russo, meanwhile, blamed Joe, who he noted clearly hated doing the kidnapping angle in the first place, for returning after his time away weighing 50 pounds more than he did before, and scolded the Samoan submission machine for throwing him under the bus years after the fact. Speaking of buses, remember this? Yeah, that was a Vince Russo idea too. Number 4. Goldberg. When Vince Russo showed up in WCW in late '99, Goldberg was arguably the fading company's top star. The Goldberg formula was a pretty hard one to mess up as well, but Russo, in his infinite wisdom, managed to find a way. At the Great American Bash 2000 pay-per-view, the man turned heel for the first and really only time in his career, aligning himself with Russo and Eric Bischoff. Fans were really not into a heel Goldberg, and neither was Goldberg himself, later ripping on Russo for the booking decision. Goldberg took his character very seriously and didn't appreciate someone making a monumental decision for him just on a whim. Years later, Goldberg would refuse to negotiate with TNA due to Russo's involvement with them, and even expressed his belief that the native New Yorker had been sent by WWE to help destroy WCW. Russo, for his part, has suggested that Goldberg was difficult to work with, citing the fact that Goldberg allegedly balked at losing to Scott Steiner at Fall Brawl 2000. He also accused Goldberg of intentionally injuring him when he speared him through a cage on the September 25th, 2000 episode of Nitro, though it's always been hard to tell with Goldberg what's intentional and what's not. Number 3. JBL. Like Vince Russo, John Bradshaw Layfield is another controversial character who's rubbed plenty of people up the wrong way. Literally, in the showers. Allegedly, of course, always allegedly, two big, opinionated personalities who come from very different worlds. It's no surprise that JBL and Russo weren't exactly friends when they worked together in WWE. Russo felt as though JBL was a loudmouthed bully, an opinion he was not alone in, and also didn't think the Bradshaw character could get over due to his strong Texas accent. Russo had also claimed that he came up with and pitched the Brawl for All because Bradshaw was constantly bragging about his toughness in the locker room and wanted to shut him up. Now, JBL has refuted this, admitting that he no doubt talked smack, but that most of it would have been in jest considering the WWE locker room at the time contained the likes of Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, and other noted hardnuts. He's also blasted Russo for his harebrained creative ideas and what he perceives as a history of failures since leaving WWE back in 1999. Number 2. Hulk Hogan. In a company rife with fiascos, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes, the debacle that went down at the 2000 Bash at the Beach pay-per-view stands out as one of WCW's most notorious. Russo was right in the middle of it, his creative vision conflicting with that of Hulk Hogan, who had creative control written into his contract, to the point that Russo cut an unauthorized shoot promo on the Hulkster after Hogan had left the building, following the worked shoot angle where he beat Jeff Jarrett to win the WCW heavyweight title. Having his character assassinated on the air didn't work for Terry Bollea, Dude Brother Jack, and he later sued WCW for defamation. The lawsuit was later dismissed. In the years after, Hogan was often critical of Russo and credited him for playing a part in WCW's ultimate demise. So, when TNA unsuccessfully tried to woo Hogan in 2003, they went as far as to momentarily axe Russo, who was there as both a writer and on-screen character at Hulk's insistence. Though the two of them learned to get along when they both worked for Dixie Carter's company from 2010 onwards. And number 1, who else could it possibly be? Jim Cornette. Not one to be shy about expressing his opinions about other people, Jim Cornette has launched his famous foul-mouthed tirades toward many within the wrestling business. But he has always reserved special scorn for his mortal enemy, Vince Russo. Cornette and Russo first crossed paths when they both worked for WWE in the mid-90s, and it didn't take long for Cornette to develop a dislike for the man alternately known as Vic Venom. A wrestling traditionalist who grew up in, loved, respected, and protected the business at all costs, Cornette despised Russo's flippant approach to writing wrestling television and accused him of attempting to kill the business he loved so much. This, plus many other slights, imagined or otherwise, have led to the legendary manager bashing Russo for the best part of 3 decades. Russo, for his part, claims that he holds no ill will towards his nemesis, though he did take out a restraining order against Cornette after being physically threatened with violence in 2017. Russo believes Cornette primarily hates him because he's from New York, and has criticized Cornette for being stuck in his ways when it comes to the wrestling business, as well as suggesting that Cornette doesn't really hate him and that the vitriol is simply part of Jim's gimmick. And really, if we were to entertain that idea, wouldn't such a swerve be the greatest tribute to Vince Russo, bro?